My video game collection has changed a lot over the last year, and in this new series, I'm going to take you on a journey through my entire collection, one section at a time. And in today's video, we're going to talk about all of the other really cool items in my GameCube collection. Now, before we start talking about all of this cool stuff, let me tell you what I want you to get out of this video. What I hope you get out of this video is learning about a lot of really cool stuff that you can collect for the Nintendo GameCube that maybe you had no idea even existed, and you can go out and try to find to add to your own collection. Also, it's very important for you to learn what some of the value of some of this stuff is, because some of this stuff is pretty valuable, as we're going to go over in today's video. So if you do any reselling or anything like that, this is going to be good for you to know. But the main thing I want you to get out of this, as I said, is to learn about things that you can collect for the GameCube outside of just buying the traditional Black Label games. So before we start talking about the numbers and some of the individual items, let's kind of talk about my background with all of this stuff. I originally started collecting for the GameCube when it first came out when I was a teenager, and when it was all said and done, I had around 90 games in my GameCube collection, and I ended up selling and getting rid of them all, which really sucked. Fast forward years later to 2016, Devin had a GameCube. Me and him were talking about GameCube. I was expressing my interest in getting one again and starting a new collection. He gave me his GameCube, and that's when I started recollecting for the GameCube. Started reacquiring all the games that I had as a kid, and then of course throughout the course of that collection and deciding to go for a full set, I started collecting other things outside of regular GameCube games, regular Black Label GameCube games. So throughout the years, I just collected all of this obscure, weird, unique, and rare items for the GameCube. So that's just a brief background with the GameCube collection and all of this weird stuff and cool stuff that we're going to be talking about in today's video. Let's go over just a few numbers real fast. Now, there's not a whole lot to go over here in terms of the numbers. Total today, we're going to quickly talk about and go over around 49 items in the GameCube collection outside of that Black Label set. A lot of what you see here, as well as some things that you don't see here. And we're going to be talking about things such as interesting controllers, GameCube related toys, collector's editions, consoles, video game soundtracks, and other weird and obscure items that you maybe didn't know existed. What I'm not going to talk about are all of my other GameCube controllers, just the traditional regular GameCube controllers, both first party and third party, that aren't really special. I'm not going to talk about those, but the estimated value of everything that I'm going to talk about in today's video is around $6,130. If you take into consideration all of the other GameCube controllers that I have that I'm not going to talk about, the estimated value of all the other items in my GameCube collection is probably closer to $6,500, which is kind of insane whenever I was doing the research for this video. It kind of blew me away. But let's change gears and quickly talk about the 5 most expensive items in the part of my GameCube collection outside of the Black Label games. So let's talk about those next. Now, let's quickly talk about the 5 most expensive items in this part of the collection. And we're gonna go from least expensive of the 5 to the most expensive of the 5. This Indigo Intech screen for the GameCube with the Indigo GameCube sells for around $224 with all the hookups and a controller. The Game Boy Player with startup disc for the GameCube is actually really expensive. Now, I didn't feel like taking the Game Boy Player off of my GameCube. I was a little too lazy for that. So you're just seeing the disc here, but the player and the disc together without the slipcover for the disc is selling for around $228. The PAL exclusive Resident Evil 4 GameCube with the PAL exclusive Resident Evil 4 GameCube controller together as a pair worth around $276 loose. The Resident Evil 4 chainsaw controller, and this one is still sealed in the packaging, is selling for around $568 brand new. And lastly, you guys guessed it, the most expensive item in the collection is Pokemon Box Ruby and Sapphire. Complete in this configuration is selling for around $1,700, which is insane. Alright, it's time to go over all of the items in this collection so that you guys can see it up close and personal. Now I'm also going to be showing the value of each item, the estimated value of each item on the screen as I talk about it. Just keep in mind that these values were at the time of this video being recorded, which actually was like 2 or 3 months before you guys are actually watching it. So those prices have definitely changed, but at the very least it should give you a pretty good idea of what some of this stuff is worth. Now let's start things off by talking about some of the variants that I have. We have the Metroid Prime variant. This is one of the Metroid Prime variants, and this is the variant that comes with Metroid Prime, and then it comes with a second disc for the demo of Metroid Prime 2. This is a really cool one. This is the Star Wars Bounty Hunter limited edition cover art variant, and I got this at Korg's for a great price. First time I'd ever seen this out in the wild. This is an extremely rare variant. So if you're a GameCube collector, this is definitely a cool piece to have in a collection if you can find it. Next up, we got the Midway Arcade Treasures 1 variant. The original release of this had a different cover and it did not have the 1. And then they released Midway Arcade Treasures 2 and 3, which had this style of cover and the numbers at the end. So they re-released the first game with the same cover style and putting a 1 at the end so that it's more in line with 2 and 3. Now this one is really cool. This is the Splinter Cell Chaos Theory Steelbook release. There was a Steelbook release for both the GameCube and the original Xbox. I don't think the PS2 got one, but I'm not entirely sure. Now, the funny thing about this is the GameCube discs for the game are in a case that was made for full-size discs, so it looks a little weird. Now, this also had a slip cover for both the GameCube and the Xbox version. Unfortunately, I do not have the slip cover, so I'm gonna have to try to track that down at some point. This thing is extremely rare, so good luck finding it, but if you do, you should definitely add it to the collection. Now, the GameCube also had some combo pack releases, and a lot of them are extremely rare and expensive. This one is definitely going up in price and becoming harder to find, and that is the Outlaw Golf Darkened Sky combo pack, which comes with both discs and both manuals. Now, as you guys know, I'm going for a complete Black Label retail release set, which is 551 games in North America. These two releases are not part of the set that I am going for because these were not games that you could walk in a store and buy off the shelf. One of them was a pre-order bonus for Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker, and one of them was a pack-in with a console. So that was the only way that you could get these two releases, and it was for a limited time. Now, I'm also going to be going for a complete Player's Choice set, but I'm not focusing on that at this time, so I only have a few Player's Choice releases, and those are Spider-Man 2, Finding Nemo, and Pac-Man Versus and Pac-Man World 2 combo pack. Now, as crazy as this sounds, one day I am going to try to go for a complete Japanese set for the GameCube and a complete PAL set for the GameCube. So I have a few Japanese games that I've actually gotten at conventions, and these are all games that I really, really love. I'm definitely going to pick up more Japanese games if I can find them for a reasonable price. But the 3 Japanese games that I have for the collection are Resident Evil 0, Super Mario Sunshine, and one of my favorite GameCube games of all time, Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. Now, the GameCube actually had a surprising number of collector's editions and big box sets that were released, and let's go over some of those now. This one is really cool. This is the Resident Evil 4 GameStop Special Edition in this tin. It comes with the game and a bunch of other goodies, and this sucker is getting pretty expensive and hard to find. The Batman Rise of Senzu Lithograph Commemorative Edition is another cool big box kind of collector's edition release that comes with the game and some goodies. And this is pretty cool because it has the original Kmart sticker where it eventually went on clearance for $9.99. The Legend of Zelda 4 Swords came in a big box, which came with the Game Boy Advance cable included. Now, my version is just box and cable only. I've got to try to find the game to add to the box. Odama also had a big box release, which included the game and the microphone. And one cool thing about this one in particular is that my copy of Odama the game in the big box is factory sealed. This is one of my favorite pieces in the collection because of how insanely rare and expensive it's becoming, and that is the Resident Evil 10th Anniversary Collection, which was a GameStop exclusive, and this came with Player's Choice versions of Resident Evil 0, Resident Evil, and Resident Evil 4, all in this really cool cardboard slipcover. And this thing is stupidly rare. Dance Dance Revolution Mario Mix got a big box release, which came with the game and the dance pad with Mario on it, and my copy is in really good condition, so I'm pretty proud of this one. But this is also getting pretty expensive and hard to find, especially in this condition. Now, I can't say with 100% certainty, but I think that this is the rarest collector's edition I have in my entire GameCube collection. And a lot of people don't even know that this exists, which is why I think the price hasn't absolutely skyrocketed on this sucker. But this is the Robotech Battlecry Collector's Edition, individually numbered limited edition, which comes with a soundtrack, lenticular art, original concept art, a numbered dog tag, and an exclusive t-shirt. I got this at a game store in Dallas, Texas. It was pricey, but it was worth it to add to the collection because this thing is stupidly rare. We already talked about Pokemon Box in the most expensive items section, but this was gifted to me by Caleb from Phoenix Resale on YouTube in one of his videos. I'll leave a link to that in the description down below if you want to check that out. This is the most expensive item in my entire game collection, period. Okay, here's some pretty obscure things right here. I got a couple of game soundtracks for a couple of GameCube games. First one is Baton Kaitos, Eternal Wings in the Lost Ocean official soundtrack, which was a Toys R Us exclusive. I'm assuming this was probably like a pre-order bonus or something like that. This is sealed. I bought this from John Riggs. Another sealed video game soundtrack is for 13 the game. It had a fantastic soundtrack, original soundtrack made just for the game. And this copy is sealed as well. And I don't know if this was like a pre-order bonus or how you got this, but it's pretty cool to have in the collection. Next up is the Nintendo GameCube preview DVD. Now, I used to see this thing a lot loose, but I've never actually found it in its original packaging. And this one has never been opened. I did have to tape the sides a little bit because the sides had popped open, so the disc was falling out. But really cool to have this obscure piece in the collection in its original packaging. Another cool obscure piece is the Nintendo GameCube preview CD-ROM. This is another really obscure piece, and to have it in its original packaging and the fact that it's like looks like a GameCube that opens is pretty cool as well. Also have the Nintendo GameCube preview disc in its original case and cover art. This was a disc with a lot of GameCube demos that you could play on the GameCube. And I also have the Resident Evil 4 preview disc, which was just a demo, playable demo for Resident Evil 4. And this thing's gone up in price quite a bit. I was kind of shocked, but it's really cool to have in the collection. Now, we already talked about the Resident Evil 4 PAL exclusive GameCube and Resident Evil 4 PAL exclusive controller in the expensive section, but I really love having these in the collection. And if I do ever get any PAL games, I'll have a console that I can play them on since the GameCube is not region free. And I love this controller because it has the two-tone design, black and platinum, and it just looks really nice, especially with the Resident Evil 4 logo on it. Now, we also already talked about the Intech screen for the GameCube in the expensive items section. This is another really cool piece to have in the collection, and it works. And eventually, I want to try to get a hold of the platinum and black Intech screens as well. And of course, we got to talk about the Resident Evil 4 chainsaw controller. We already touched on this in the expensive items section, but this is sealed in the original packaging. And unfortunately, I have decided to sell it because I need the money for upcoming conventions and travel expenses and things like that. So I will be parting ways with this in my collection, which makes me sad, but I'll get it back one day. Another very obscure controller that a lot of people don't know about is the Mega Man X controller for the GameCube. This one is really obscure and it's pretty expensive as well. And it's another one that I'm going to be selling to get some convention funds. So by the time you guys watch this, it will no longer be in my collection, but again, I will get it back one day. Now, I've also gotten my hands on some obscure toys and other weird obscure things for the GameCube, like this really obscure Mario Kart Double Dash Mattel Matchbox car that you can get, this tractor trailer. And then we have this Burger King Super Mario Sunshine toy where they really messed up Mario's eyes. It's kind of funny. And I have 2 of the 4 GameCube bubblegum sets. I've got the Mario Kart Double Dash one and the Mario Superstar Baseball one, both with the stickers. The other releases were one of the Mario Parties, I can't remember which one, and Mario Tennis. I think those were the only 4, but these are extremely rare. Very proud to have the 2 GameCube bobbleheads in the collection, both of which were limited releases that were numbered. I've got the Mario holding a GameCube and the Star Fox Adventures bobblehead, and these are awesome. And I also have the box for the Mario one. I have not 1 but 2 complete in box DK bongos, which is really cool to have in the collection. Now this is a really cool piece that I got off the Facebook Marketplace, and that is the Spider-Man vs. Venom controller set. Unfortunately, the packaging is yellowed from, I'm assuming, being in a smoker's home. I cleaned it up the best that I could. It is sealed in the packaging, but it also has some holes in it, but it's still pretty cool to have in the collection. I have one of the many GameCube carry case bags. This is my favorite one because it allows me to store everything I need when I take my GameCube on the go. Here's another really obscure piece for the GameCube collection, and that is the Star Fox Adventures Survival Kit, which was a Circuit City exclusive, and in this box was a drink, a Star Fox themed drink, toilet paper with game tips on it, that's right, and it had a custom door hanger as well, which I'm unfortunately missing from this set, but this is a pretty cool piece to have in the collection. And we can't talk about the collection without talking about the Wavebird controller, of which I have 2. One day I hope to have a full set of 4, and I have the receivers for both, and these are also getting stupidly expensive. I also have this really cool GameCube that has a Smash Bros skin on it. I don't remember where I got this, but this is the GameCube that I actually play on that's not modded. And this is my favorite GameCube book, the GameCube Anthology. This has so much information about the GameCube and every single game release, and it's also a great reference for collectors, especially if you're going for that full 551 Black Label set. And then I'm not going to dig it out, but I also have a GC Loader modded GameCube that I use to play and capture footage on, and I also have my Game Boy player with the startup disc connected to that as well. Alright folks, that is it for today's video on all of the other cool stuff in my GameCube collection. Let me know in the comments down below if you find any of this stuff interesting. Let me know if you have any of this stuff in your own collection, and also let me know if there are any other obscure GameCube items outside of that Black Label set that I don't have that you think I should add to my collection.